The morning air outside Fort Carson hung heavy with dust, the kind that clings to your sleeves and doesn't let go. By 5 a.m., the shooting range sat quiet, but loaded with tension. Lieutenant Commander Lauren Blake stood alone at Lane 4, boots chalked from limestone grit, her carbine disassembled on the bench. No clipboard, no coffee, just her breath and the sound of metal being set into place. She didn't wear her stripes anymore, just the standard fleece that covered a past few dared to question. Some said she once hauled a wounded pilot through burning wreckage. Nobody ever asked if it was true. They just watched how she moved, silent, fluid, like someone who never forgot what pain felt like. A new batch of recruits was inbound, 3 young men, full of swagger, tight fades, and the kind of smiles that hadn't yet been tempered by combat. They strutted in like they owned the range. One even chuckled when he spotted Blake. "Didn't know we brought back retirees," he muttered. Blake ignored it, just clicked her bolt forward and walked to the targeting board, her steps measured, precise. The range officer, Lieutenant Darren Ross, handed out sim pistols with a grin. "Your threat target today," he said loud enough for the other lanes to hear, "is the instructor." The recruits froze. Blake didn't. Her voice cut through the morning stillness, even and sharp. "Keep muzzles low. Safety rules still apply." And that's when everything started to go sideways. They formed a half arc, each holding a sim pistol, blue slide, rubber grip, weighted just enough to mimic the real thing. From the tower, Ross raised the clicker. "On your mark." Blake didn't flinch. Hands loose, eyes steady. She scanned their stances, read every micro-gesture like a language. Cruz went first, too fast. His muzzle crept above the safety zone. "Lower it," Blake said. Calm, direct. Decker smirked, lifted his pistol higher. "Just role-playing." That's when she saw it. A wrong sound. A metallic snap. Not plastic, not training. Real. Her head turned, instincts firing before her mind had time to explain it. A live round screamed past, close enough to sting her cheek. Someone loaded real ammo. She didn't duck. She read geometry. 3 shooters, 1 muzzle smoked. It was Decker. His hand trembled, finger too close to the trigger. Her voice stayed flat. "Set it down." But he didn't. Not yet. Decker's eyes were locked wide. His chest rose and fell like a man treading water in a storm. Blake saw it. The microspasms, the sweat forming too fast. She'd seen it before. Rookies about to crack. Ross stepped forward, hands up. Nobody move. But Decker twitched, not on purpose. A reflex, a flinch, finger tightened. The flash came next. But Blake was already gone. She'd moved a full second before the brain had caught up. She slipped left and low, the round whizzing past, cracking wood behind her. Splinters kissed her sleeve. The shot missed because she predicted it, not reacted. Cruz stumbled back. "Jesus! Owen, drop it!" Decker froze again, but another sound racked the air. Liss had chambered his sim pistol. The problem was, it didn't sound like plastic anymore. Blake stood calmly between them. "You don't want to do this," she said, hands open. But Liss's wrists trembled. Pride, fear, confusion. A cocktail that made people dangerous. She saw the shift and moved again. Blake surged forward, closing distance with precision. Liss's arms braced for a shot he didn't want to take, but his body was betraying him. Just as his elbows tucked, she struck. Her hand clamped his wrist, crushing the joint where nerves screamed the loudest. He cried out, stumbled, but her body already rotated, forcing the muzzle downward. The shot hit dirt, inches from her boot. He dropped the pistol. Blood marked his palm where the slide had kicked back. One threat neutralized. She spun on Decker. He was still frozen, pistol raised, but limp in his grip. Blake's elbow drove into his chest, hard, precise. Air escaped his lungs as he crumpled to his knees, weapon clattering onto the pavement. Only Cruz remained, standing still, pistol lowered. "I didn't fire," he whispered. Blake looked him in the eye. "I know." Across the range, silence settled like ash. No one moved. No one dared. And then the sirens started wailing. The first MPs arrived within minutes, sirens whining, boots pounding across the gravel lot. Blake stood calm, hands loose at her sides, eyes sharp. She met the lead officer halfway. 3 weapons drawn, 1 confirmed live round fired, 1 discharge deflected, no injuries, she said. The officer, Sergeant Milner, nodded slowly. He'd seen combat, seen panic. But this was different. No fear, just precision. He glanced at the taped-off area. Casings marked, 3 pistols tagged, 1 smoking muzzle. Ross stood off to the side, pale, clutching his clipboard like a life vest. "She wasn't supposed to move like that," he muttered. Blake didn't respond. Inside the range building, evidence bags filled. 2 live rounds recovered, 1 embedded in gravel, 1 in the barricade. Milner's eyes narrowed. Somebody swapped barrels. Blake looked at Cruz, now zip-tied to a bench. He mumbled, "It was a joke. We just wanted to test her reflexes." Her voice stayed level. "Then you succeeded." And the price was just starting to be counted. Commander Holland arrived just as the MPs finished taping off the range. He didn't waste words. "Injuries?" Blake shook her head. "Only to their careers." Behind her, the 3 trainees sat on the pavement, zip-tied and silent, their earlier swagger erased. Holland turned to Ross. "You authorized this drill?" Ross stammered. It wasn't supposed to go that far. I didn't know there was live ammo." Blake's voice cut in. "You didn't verify the weapons." Milner glanced at her, then nodded. "Recommend immediate detainment." Holland agreed without hesitation. Decker and Liss were led away. Cruz followed, eyes hollow. Back in the barracks, rumors flared. A grainy video had already hit private group chats. You could see it. Blake pivoting, disarming, moving like time bent for her. One SEAL muttered, "She moved before he even pulled the trigger." Another replied, "She always does." And Blake? She never flinched, never raised her voice. Correction had been made. But the questions lingered. How many warnings do we ignore before the shot comes? Abonniere den Kanal, schreib einen Kommentar und teile das Video. In the interrogation room, the air smelled like metal. Cold. Still. Blake sat upright, sidearm already logged, uniform clean, except for a scuff on her cheek from the first live round. Across from her, Commander Holland didn't mince words. "Walk me through it." Blake recounted the events without embellishment. Clear, precise. 3 trainees, 1 rogue drill, 2 confirmed discharges, 1 reaction. "You moved before the trigger," he said. "I read the body, not the weapon," she replied. Across the hallway, Ross sat sweating, stammering excuses. "They were just running a drill. Maybe someone swapped a barrel. I didn't approve that message." An investigator tapped the printout of the chat log. "Let's see how fast Grandma SEAL really is." Ross's face went pale. Back in Blake's room, Holland reviewed the footage. 19 seconds to impact," he muttered. "You moved before the hammer dropped." She looked at him steadily. "People always tell you when they're about to kill. Most just don't know how to read the signs." Conference room 3A was bare. No flags, no emblems, just concrete, steel chairs, and silence. Blake entered in full dress uniform, spine straight, bars polished, expression unreadable. Cruz, Liss, and Decker sat across the room, unshackled but hollow-eyed. Their commanding officer stood behind them like a ghost. Holland opened the proceedings. Attempted assault on a superior officer. Live fire breach. Negligent conduct. The screen flickered on. Grainy footage played. The drill setup. Muzzles rising. Blake's pivot. Distance impacts. Arrests. Any disputes? Holland asked. Silence. Lieutenant Ross, the JAG officer said. Ballistics confirmed 2 barrels were swapped with unauthorized inserts. You were responsible for that range. Ross swallowed hard. I didn't think. Exactly, Holland said coldly. He turned to Blake. You declined to press charges. Do you wish to change that? Blake glanced at the 3 men. Not pity, not vengeance. Just precision. No, sir. Correction was achieved. The phrase landed heavy. Even the lawyers stopped scribbling. Outside the hearing room, the world continued as usual. But something in the air had shifted. Protocols would change. Safety procedures revised. And every trainee on base had heard the story by now. Blake walked alone across the sunlit pavement of the training compound, her cap pulled low, sleeves rolled with surgical neatness. No one approached. Not yet. But one recruit did. Young, nervous. Maybe 22. He stepped cautiously onto the range. Ma'am, he said, trying not to fidget. I heard what happened, requesting permission to train under you. Blake eyed him, measured, then tossed him a set of ear protection. 15-meter control pairs, clean resets, no hero drills. He nodded quickly. Yes, ma'am. She turned back toward the range table, mags, targets, her blue notebook. A shot cracked the air. Not perfect, but centered. She didn't smile, just adjusted his stance quietly, then stepped aside. Rule 1, she said, calm and cold as steel. Anticipate everything. The sun hung high over the Colorado hills, casting long shadows across the concrete range. Empty casings glinted beneath Blake's boots like brass reminders of everything that could have gone wrong, but didn't. At lane 3, the rookie steadied himself, lips tight, arms shaking slightly. His second shot rang out. Clean. Dead center. Blake didn't comment. She didn't need to. The silence said enough. Back under the canopy, more recruits gathered, murmuring. A few leaned closer, watching. They weren't just curious. They were recalibrating what discipline meant. One asked quietly, "Is it true she moved before the gun fired?" No one answered. They didn't have to, because some lessons aren't taught. They're witnessed, and once you see restraint win over chaos, once you see a commander walk through gunfire without fear, you remember. Not because of the danger, but because of how little it changed her. Now it's your turn. Would you have frozen or moved first? Tell me in the comments. Tap like if this mission hit you and share it with someone who needs to understand what real control looks like.